Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in into this today video. Today we're going to talk about timers and how you can implement a countdown timer inside your app. And I'm just going to show you that, and you actually see it currently on your screen, a timer that is running. And before actually we go, I just want to say that if you haven't joined the Discord channel, please do. Is There are a lot of things, a lot of people, and a lot of questions that you can ask related to videos. If you don't understand something or some code, you need some code, I can help you with that. Give it my GitHub repo, for example. And yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for all the people that actually subscribed to the paid channel of YouTube. That's much appreciated, as this actually the income that is coming from YouTube right now. It's like 10% of or maybe less. It's coming from YouTube itself, from ads, for example, and the rest of it is actually it's coming from paid users. So thank you very much for that. Actually, you're paying those videos. The paid members actually are paying the videos that I'm producing. But yeah, thank you very much. So without further ado, let me actually show you how the countdown is actually working. Okay, so we have this page actually, which is the home page, and if I click just begin, I'm redirected to the counter page now, which is a timer um, that is going down. And so the thing is that right now it's not starting. This is in Bulgarian. It's not starting, but the whole idea is that you need to press here in order to start. And I'll show you later how you can actually do it to start automatically when you visit this page. And also, I will show you how you can actually change the time that you need. Because right now it's 1 minute, but it could be like I don't know, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute and a half, or something like that, or maybe hours as well. So it could be hours as well. So yeah, so how it working? So now you see the timer. It will be 1 minute. If I start it, it will actually say pause. So this is pause, and this is restart. So I can actually pause it right now, and it will pause it to this time, and I can resume it, and it will just resume at where it was. Or I can just restart it. So I can just click restart, and the timer will actually restart from 1 minute. It will actually restart from 59 seconds, because when you click restart, you need some 1 second to load the data or the file or the custom code, because there's some custom code involved here, and that's why it's starting from 59 seconds actually, not from 1 minute. But yeah, like I showed you, you can pause, and then the restart button will disappear, because the idea is that you can't restart when you're pausing it. But of course, you can change the logic. This is my logic of the things, how I build it. Of course, you can change the logic once you see how I done it. And there are 20 seconds left for the timer. And when the timer it's done, actually, you see actually a new button over here, which will be which this one is continued, but you see another button which actually say cancel. Is this one? So when it's zero, you this button will appear, which is cancel, and then the pause button will actually disappear, and the restart button will actually disappear as well. Because my particular idea is that you can restart the timer only when the timer is actually running. When it stops running, you cannot restart it anymore. But of course, like I said, you can customize that as your needs. And yeah, so let me show you how I actually build that. Okay, so this is my page. This is inside my flow builder, and this is the timer. So what I'm using actually, so first of all, you can set up your app variables, and your app variables have a few web variables. So I have the timer, which is an app variable, and for me personally, it is an app state. Sorry, it's not a variable; it's app state. It's app state for the reason is that I want to actually change the timer or the time that will be countdowning from another page, not from the timer itself. In my particular case, I have like an admin zone or something like that, or dashboard where I can do that. But if you want the user to be able to change that inside the same page, you don't need to do it in app state. You can do it in the page state. So you have the timer, which will be actually a string, and it will be like the minutes. In my case, I don't need hours, but you can, of course, include hours. It will be just working the same way. So you have minutes, and then I have seconds, and then I have minutes over here, and then I have seconds over here. And those are the normal minutes and seconds that will actually count down when you start the counter, and it will actually go, for example, from 15, 14, 13, and it will actually save every time the seconds will pass. It will actually save the seconds over here, and this is the functionality of the pausing. So we know when we pause where to resume it. So that's why we're using this minutes and seconds. And then we have another one, which is this one. It's default minutes and default seconds. So default minutes and default seconds will be actually in when you start the app, those will be the same. But like I said, this will actually change, and this will change when the timer starts. It will change from 14, 13, and so on and so forth, and this will always stay your default value, wherever your default value is. For my or a particular case, it's actually 15 seconds. I set it up for 15 seconds to be my default value when the app is loaded, but of course you can set it to something else. And then we have two more booleans, which is timer running and timer paused. So those are booleans by default. They will be false. And another thing, actually, if you want your timer to be persistent across your app, which means that if you want your time, if you change your timer from the dashboard, I will show you that later. If you change your timer, for example, if you want the users to be able to change them and to change the timer and then save it, like so you don't need to actually change it every time. For example, if you want the timer to be 1 minute instead of 15 seconds, you need to actually make those this one timer. You need to do persistent, this one persistent, this one persistent, this one persistent, this one persistent, which means that needs to be true, all of them, and this one and this one as well. All of them needs to be true. And what will this do actually? It will actually save the state, which means that it will actually save the state when your app is, even if the timer is paused and you close the app and then reopen it, it should actually save the state. And it will just, for example, if you pause it to, let's say, 10 seconds, and then close the app and then open it again, it should actually be there in 10 seconds paused, and then you can resume it, even if the app closed. But if you don't need this functionality, in my particular case, I don't need actually to save the place of the timer or the time. So that's why I did it like that. So every time that the page is open, it will actually be on the default timer, which is 15 seconds. But like I said, this can be changed, but it will be changed in the session. So when the app closes, it will default. When you open it again, it will default again to 15 seconds. So this is very important actually to understand. about the app state and the page state. So you can also do it in the, like I said, you can also do it in the page state, which means over here in the page where the timer is, from over here. And you can set up all those over here. But the thing is that, first of all, you don't have default values over here. This is the first issue probably that you're facing. Or maybe you have, actually you have, that I'm lying. If you have like, let's say a timer, and yeah, I'm mistaken because you don't have a default values for arrays only, but for string and integers you actually need strings and booleans, but you have, yeah, so you can actually use those if you, like I said, if you want to change the timer from this page only. But because I'm changing it from the admin dashboard, that's why I needed to do it in the app state. Great, so let's continue. So this is the page actually. The setup, it's pretty simple. I think it's not that complex. And then I have on page load, which is on the scaffold widget, which is the first widget that you have in your page. So what I'm doing here, firstly, is that I'm actually setting up the time. I'm setting up the timer by text combination. And I'm doing that for the sole reason is that if the timer actually changed, if you change the timer from the admin board, I need to reflect those changes. And I need to, when someone changes from the admin and then go back to the timer will actually update because I'm updating with the drop down. I will show you in a bit. I'm updating with the drop down and the values, and then those will be the new value. So if it's set to 1 minute 0 seconds, this will be set to 1 minute 0 seconds. That's the idea of this set timer. And then you have minutes, which will actually set up to default minutes because I want to restart the timer when every time a visitor visits the timer, it will actually restart it to the default minutes and default seconds. But of course, if you don't need this functionality, if you want the timer to start from where it was, then you don't need to set up this because this will actually, like I said, restart it to the default values. Great. And then we have timer running. I set it up by default to false, and timer pause. I set it up by default to false again. Like I said, if you want your timer, if you want to visit this page in your timer to continue running when you visit this page, then you don't need these values. So the whole idea is that if the timer is set to true, and this is coming from the app state, and this is persistent, it will actually remember that, and the next time you visit this page, it will actually start the timer. It should start the timer automatically, to be honest. Great. But if you want to set it up like me, to when a page is visited, you will restart the timer from the default timer. In my case, in the default one, it's 15 seconds. Then this is how you're supposed to do it on page load. Great. And then what about the timer? So there are two ways you can start a timer. You can start from a button, like in my particular case, or you can start it when the page is visited. So let me first show you how you can start it from the button. So I have one action, which is countdown. It's a custom action, and the code will be available in the GitHub repo. So if I click on edit custom action, I can actually show you the action, but like I said, this code will be available in my GitHub, so you can actually copy the code from there. But the whole idea is that you have the countdown over here, and you can apply minutes and seconds. And if you want to, you can modify this and apply hours. And if you're kind enough, you can actually set up the new, push the new code or the new changes in my GitHub. So if there are more people that need hours as well, for example, they can get the code, or when I have the time, I can update that if there are more people asking for hours. But it should not be that hard, right? So you have this minutes for seconds, and then should add hours. Um, and of course, do the calculations over here so you can convert to the total seconds. And then we actually we have here current minutes and current seconds, and we're getting 1 second off to the of the total. And then we have the formatted minutes and formatted seconds. We're actually doing that for the reason is that we need a leading zero. That's my idea. Because if you have, like, let's say, for example, 5 seconds left, it will only show 5 and not 0.5. So that's the idea. It will actually create so-called padding, and it will be of two, let's say, two characters. So it will be if the first character is zero or empty, it would be 0 and then 5, for example. 5, this would be 5 seconds. So that's the idea of this code over here. And then this code over here is actually updating the app state. So it's actually updating the timer, and this is the magic, where the magic is happening. It will actually update the timer, and the timer will be represented in the page, and you will see the seconds going down, and the minutes as well. That's the whole idea. And then I have the minutes as well and the seconds. I'm saving the minutes and the seconds, and I'm doing that because of the resume functionality. So I will need to know when the timer have paused in order to resume it. I need to know the exact minutes and the exact seconds. So that's what this is doing. Great. And then we have wait for a second before continue the loop. So it will actually wait 1 second, and then it will do this all over again. And this is the loop, and it will actually um, get 1 second less, and so on and so forth. So I have another thing here. I'm actually have this timer paused, and I'm actually checking every time I run this custom action. I'm actually checking if the timer is paused, and if the timer is paused, I will actually stop the timer, and it will actually stop this custom code entirely. And it will say a timer is running is equal to false, and then I will break from here, and then I will just say time is up, and then yeah, and then basically that's it. And now that I think about it, probably I can also do it without this code, to be honest, because this is actually doing the same thing. So probably I can do it without this code as well. So I think I can commit it, but I'll not do that right now. But yeah, it will still work. I have tested, and you saw it and the demo. Great. And then I have this one, which is when the custom action starts. It will actually say time running, and it will say true. And the idea is that I need to know when the time is running, so I need to show the pause button, for example, and hide the start button. So I don't need to have the start button, and I need to have, for example, the resume button. So that's why this is important as well, to have it as true. And then when everything stops when the time it's finished and we don't have any more seconds left, uh, we have this timer running, and it's equal to false. Great. So this is the custom action. Like I said, it will be available in my GitHub repo. And then this is the only thing that I need when I start the timer. So when I first start the timer, I will start it from the default minutes and the default seconds. And the reason, like I said, for that is because I'm not starting from the minutes and the seconds because the minutes and seconds will be constantly updating. I want to start it from the default minutes and the default seconds. Great. So that's how you start a timer. If you want to start a timer when you visit this page, you simply can copy this action and then go to the scaffold widget and then open this and then just add it over here. Just add it over here. And when you visit this page, it will actually start the timer automatically for you. That's the only thing that you need to do. And there is something important actually I forgot to tell you, which is super important. And it tricked me actually the first time that I tried to do the timer. And that's that you have to actually, this is super important, you have to enable non-blocking. So you have to enable that the action that you're running will be no non-blocking. And why is that? So the reason for doing that is that if you do it blocking, if it's actually blocking your actions, that means that when you click on start, it will actually start spinning. This button will start spinning and nothing else will work. You will not see the pause button, you will not see the restart button. And the reason for that is that it will actually wait for this action to execute and then it will like release everything else in your app. Now, but you don't need it. You don't want that actually. And the reason for that is that you don't want that is that you want this code to run synchronously, and then everything else needs to also run as well. So you're like saying, run this timer, and then at the same time, actually check what are the minutes, what are the seconds, and then yeah, that's the idea. Just run it, and then so that's how you can run it when the page is visited. So what about the restart? So let's talk about the restart. The restart is actually a little bit more complex. I had like a little bit difficult time to set it up, but that was the reason for the wait. I needed to wait for 1 second. So when the restart is clicked, you can actually, I will actually pause the timer, and I'm pausing the timer. The reason I'm pausing the timer because I want the timer to stop. That's my whole idea. I want the timer to stop, and I wait 1 second to make sure that the timer is stopped. Because if it doesn't stop, it will actually mess up the code. It will start 2 timers, and it will not work great. And then another thing that I want to do is actually after that, I want to say that the timer paused is equal to false. So my idea is stop this timer, but then you have to make sure that the timer is not paused anymore. And the reason for that is that if you leave it like that to true, when you run this custom action, it will actually go inside the custom action and then it will break out. Like you remember on line, this line over here, it will say that if the timer is paused, and if it's paused, it will actually break. So that's the idea. Don't forget to switch the timer pause to false. So basically, I'm switching the timer to true, waiting 1 second for the current timer that is running to stop, and then I'm setting up the timer pause to false again, and then I'm running the timer one more time. Again with the default minutes, again with the default seconds, and again non-blocking. So don't forget about this. You actually see this icon which says non-blocking action. Great. So this is how the restart button is working. And let's talk about the pause one. So the pause button is we have one single action, and the single action is timer pause equals to true. And if you remember on the code that I show you, the custom code, it will actually break from the current custom action, and it will just leave the timer to the time that it was paused. So for example, it was paused on 10 seconds, it will just leave it there. Great. And what about the resume button? The resume button. So the resume button actually, if I open it, first of all, it will say timer pause, and it will say false. I don't want anymore the timer to be paused. And then I will run the same action, but this time I will run it with the minutes and the seconds instead of the default minutes and the default seconds, which will actually run from the beginning. I will run it from the minutes and the seconds, and that will actually be saved for the current minute and current second, and not the default ones. And of course, don't forget that this is a non-blocking action. Great. So what's left? So it's left that I can show you two things. First of all, about how I'm showing and hiding the buttons, what's my logic, and then I'll show you how you can set up from the dashboard, from the admin dashboard, you can set up the timer. So let me first show you how you can set it up, the vision, the visibility of the buttons. So I have set it up the visibility of my buttons. When the timer is started, I will hide this button and I'll only show this button and this button. When it's paused, I will show only this button and I will hide this button. So this is my way of doing it. Of course, you can actually do it your way. You don't need to do it this way, but I'm doing it this way. And I think it's good to see my way of doing it, and then you can customize it to whatever you want to, however you want to show your buttons. So when someone starts the button, I will hide it. So I will only show the button. I have um, uh, three conditions that I'm showing the button. So the first condition is that I will check if the timer it's not running. So that means that this over here means that the opposite, it will apply the opposite statement. So if the timer is running, but in this particular case, it will actually check if the timer it's not running, and it will show the button. And again, we have another one, and I'll also check if the timer is not equal to 0 minutes and 0 seconds. So the timer coming from the app state, I will check it. It's not equal to, and I'll just write it over here, 0 minutes to dots 0 seconds. So if the timer is not 0, I'll show it. I'll still show it. And then the last thing is that if the timer is not paused. So if the timer is paused, I will show the button. So I have like those three conditions that if they are met, I'll show the button. When you click the timer, when you click the start, it will start the timer or the countdown, and then this will be false, and it will hide the button. And again, when the timer it's done, it will be 0 minutes 0 seconds, so that's why it will not show the timer again. But of course, if you want the timer to be shown when it's 0 minutes 0 seconds, so you can actually restart start the timer again, you don't need this, condition. Great. So what about the pause one? So the pause one, let me show you what is my logic behind it. So the first logic is that I will only show this button when the timer is running, and I will only show this button if the time is not paused. Because if the time is paused, I don't want to show this button. I want to actually show the resume button. So that's my logic behind it. And those are all app states. You can actually see it over here. It's app state, and this is app state as well. Great. So what about the resume button? When I'm showing the resume button. So the resume button is super simple. I only showing it when the timer is paused. So you're thinking, okay, what about when the timer is running or not running? Well, I don't care about that, to be honest. I only care about when the timer is paused, because you can only pause the timer when the time it's starting to run, and you can only pause it by pressing this button. So essentially, when you press this button will hide, and this button will be shown. That's the whole idea. And the last uh, and the last button that I have is this one, and it's called restart. And you can see it by the icon, and there is no condition over here. So the whole idea is that I can actually restart it the whole time. But of course, if you want to only restart it when the timer is running, you can have a condition here, and you can say like only restart it when the timer is running. So you can say timer. So you can say timer running only once restarted when the timer is running, because this is the idea, right? So that's about it. So let me show you actually in the admin panel how you can change the timer. It's super simple. So that's my admin panel, and I have this the timer, and then I have the minutes and the seconds. So you can actually see it over here. So I have the timer, and I have the default minutes and default seconds, and then I have a drop down over here. And when this drop down, so first of all, I have set it up to, like I set it up manually, but of course you can it can come from an array of minutes, but I only set it up manually to the fifth minute, and then I did the same for the seconds. I only set it up for every 0 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 45 seconds. But of course, like I said, you can set it up all the seconds, 59 or 16 seconds, or set it up from an array. Great. So what is the idea? The idea is that if I go to actions and I have this action which is on change, it will actually set it up the minutes. It will set it up the minutes to the drop down one. It will also set it up the default minutes to the drop down one, and then it will set the timer as well. And because the timer it's generated by the minutes and the seconds, it will actually get it from the drop down one, and then two dots, and then the default seconds. And that's the idea. And this will change the timer. And of course, if you want to not, if you want to, if you want the resume to keep on be resuming at the same time, you don't need to do that. You don't need to change this number. If a user have resumed the timer, and if you change this, it will change the resume time, right? So it's up to you how you want to do it. It has the same logic for the seconds. I'm actually changing the seconds to drop down to the default seconds to the drop down to, and the timer I'm getting the default minutes, and then two dots, and then the drop down to. And this will actually, when you change the minutes, for example, it will already be changed. So when you change the seconds, it will get the updated minutes over here. So let's show you how that looks like. If I go over here right now, you can actually see the timer. It's 15 seconds. But what if I want to make it 2 minutes and 30 seconds, let's say? So if I make it 2 minutes and 30 seconds, go to the beginning and click on start, you can actually see it right now. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is how it's working, and I hope that this was actually helpful for you. It turned out to be a long video, but I wanted to explain everything regarding how I built it. So I hope it was helpful. And actually, another thing I want to say before I go, because I know that there will be people actually asking for that. And there will be people actually asking for what about when the app closes. So I have this timer, for example. I set it up to 5 minutes or whatever, and then I'm actually closing the app, and I want this timer the timer to continue. That's the whole idea. I want the timer to continue when the app is closed. Well, in order to do that, you need to actually watch this video, which is always active, how to implement the background services in Flow app. So you need that. You need to implement the background services in order to do that. When you do that, you can set up the timer to be running in your background services, and the timer will continue running even if the app is closed. So I would just want to say that, and I'm happy I didn't forget it. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please ask them here or in Discord. And then before you go, actually, there is one more thing that I have to say. Thanks for watching this video, but please help me to reach 4,000 subscribers. And when I reach 4,000 subscribers, I actually have a surprise for every single subscriber that I have. I will shuffle them and I will do a live session and I'll announce the winner. And what will be the winner? The winner should be a subscribe to the channel, and the price is this one. It's a Flow swag actually. I want to give to one of my subscribers. Like I said, it will be a live session when I reach 4,000 subscribers. And this Slack is actually have a t-shirt, the same that you see over here. It has stickers and it has a mug. So it's pretty good mug that you can drink your coffee or tea or whatever you like to drink from it. And like I said, I will give this to one of my subscribers. So please subscribe to the channel. And also, I'll do a live session. So it should be in the live session when I reach 4,000 subscribers. And I'll just pick from wherever who is subscribed. And it is in the live session. And I'll pick a winner so he or she can immediately DM me the address, and I can send this Slack box. So please subscribe to the channel to have a chance to win this amazing Slack box. I just want to say that the paid membership for YouTube is now open, so you can be a paid member to my YouTube channel, which means a lot. And thank you very much for all the people who are right now paid members to the channel.